Howdy fellow model railroaders, my name's Kevin Brown. I want to thank you for checking out my YouTube channel. This episode is going to be dealing with visiting Dave Gentry's N-scale model railroad, the Cache Valley in Northern. We had a chance to sit down and go over his layout. I visited his layout and posted a video about a year ago. And he's done quite a lot of work on it since then, so we get a chance to look that over. Somewhat different. The last video was pretty much just a grand tour. This is going to be more of a point-by-point look at various scenes on his nice layout and how he got to where he is, and also emphasizing how it fits in with the logical concept of his fictional railroad. Now, because of the necessities of our current situation, I wore a mask throughout this filming, and therefore I tried to keep quiet. I don't know that I'd be able to mumble well through a mask and the camera would pick it up. So just let Dave give a chance to share his layout and all the work he's put into it. So why don't you sit back, and I hope you enjoy it.
Welcome to the Cache Valley in Northern. This is the second visit that Kevin has had here on my home railroad. Like many of you, it has received a lot of attention in quarantine since we have lots of time to spend down here in the train room. A brief history of the Cache Valley in Northern. This is a fictional road that runs north and south through northern Utah, southern Idaho, an area that just became a favorite of mine with our travels. The layout's been around for 26 years in several different locations. It is my fourth layout, and certainly the largest that I've had in the history of my railroading. My power system is a Digitrax DCC. It is not radio. Because of the small confines, I can get along just fine with having a tethered throttle, so it works well that way. During this visit, Kevin and I will spend some time looking at the reasons for having a railroad. We're going to touch on a few favorite scenes of mine as we work our way around the railroad and looking at how industry from the railroad and the city would interact. The oil transfer or energy transfer facility, Christie Oil Company, is a great service on the line, on the rail line, and it then supplies gasoline and petroleum products to the town. So this is a great opportunity to have a interaction between the railroad and the residents of the area. Christie Oil is named after a good friend of mine who spent much of his career working in the energy department at our local cooperative. So again, ties in very well with the railroad as well as the need to have a rail line. Looking at Christie Oil Company from a different perspective, again, the idea being loads in, empties out, the ability of the railroad to service this industry and give it a reason to exist. As a local comes by here in just a second, you can see I've used a variety of different materials, some of them commercial, some of them scrambled from the things that show up on hand. The oil tanks there in the back are actually lids off of a variety of different products. The trucks and so forth are commercial, and some of the buildings have been scratch built. The storage areas in the back and the pump house in the front. This next scene that we're going to look at is my lumber yard. You'll see that it is named Mountain Lumber Company. Also in the backdrop, you see Cache Valley Lumber. This is a scene that carried over from one of my previous railroads where I had the Cache Valley Lumber Company. I expanded it in this location, so you've seen some of the growth that has taken place over time. You're going to see two different lumber facilities. This one is a retail market, and you have people in and out buying pieces of lumber as needed. Later, you'll get to see an originating location where they're taking logs off the forest and moving them via rail to be cut. So this goes back to a little bit of my background in that one of my degrees is in forest entomology. I spent a number of years studying some forestry and wanted to make sure I represented that in my layout. A couple of industries on this side that highlight this side of the layout. Valley Fruit, it again allows an interchange where products that are being brought in from the farm can be prepared and shipped out via rail. So it allows me to involve trucking as well as the rail line. So one of the key things, again, trying to give reason for the railroad, this is a great interface. To go with it over here is Perkins Chemical. Again, a lot of supplies in and products out. So you've got the rail as well as the truck line that allows you to have a reason to exist. This sits on a junction to nowhere. It does not connect to anything. It is there simply for the appearance, but it does allow some switching opportunities as well as a little variety of the rail line. So this is the Illini Forestry Company. It is where the lumber would be originated. You're going to see the logs coming in, being transferred and loaded onto rail cars. The slash burner that you see, the silver building in the back where they can burn off unnecessary, unused pieces, a scratch built. The office facility is a master kit made out of balsa and wood siding, so it's got a bit of a unique flavor to it. Nothing commercial on this particular spot other than the GHQ tractors. We're going to touch on a couple of offline scenes that are some of my favorites, things that I've really enjoyed putting on the layout. This first one, Spotted Horse Ranch. My granddaughters that come down here are very entranced with having the horses and riders in this area. I can always tell when they've been nearby because the horses are in a different spot. But it allows me to put a scene in my upper level in the mountains, and it's fitting for the area with the railroad as a backdrop. I do have another interchange here, as you can see, from the little 44 tonner, bringing some across a little bridge, running into the main line and into a siding. So Spotted Horse Ranch, it is on the upper level, situated in the forest. Another favorite scene of mine is the Schmidt Custom Woodworking Center. This is offline. It is named after a friend and neighbor, and he was an avid woodworker. I could always tell when he was out making sawdust by the sounds of saws in his garage. So I named this after him. I like the idea of just having another industry to fill this particular gap on the main line, and it fit very nicely in there. Plus it added a lot of interest because of the curiosities that are on the building, having the dust collector and different sides with truck docks. So I think it adds a lot to the industry and will be one that I was proud of. Since our last visit, there have been a couple of new stores added to the street scene. The first one is Dave's Train Shop. Strangely enough, that I would have my own train store in my scene. Part of that is that I spotted the little metal train cars and locomotive, and I thought, well, that would make a perfect signage for a building, and I had just the right place. So opportunity knocked, and I took advantage of it. So I've added that since. The next, moving down the street just a little bit, you're going to see some of the awnings. These are going to show up in the November-December 2020 issue of N-Scale magazine. I wrote an article for the magazine on how to build these awnings using both ribbon and spreadsheet information. So you're going to see that show up in the magazine. And finally, to Nana's Cakes. My wife has a very good history of baking birthday cakes for granddaughters, and I felt it needed to be highlighted with her own bakery. So Nana's Cakes is a new addition since the last time you were here. I'm going to have Kevin move down to the left just a hair and to Scamander's Pets. My daughter is an English teacher and spends much time talking about the Harry Potter world in her English classes. I decided that would make a great kind of in jest pet store. And so you can see from that a little bit of my own personality as well as family added to it. So the city scene is a combination of interior and those that are not scenic on the inside, but the goal is to have as many of them with interiors when we're done and be able to see them up close and be able to see people actively inside. My yard facility on the Cache Valley in Northern starts with a yard office and switching tower to kind of control all of the activities. As you start to move this way to the right, you're going to see a variety of CV&N trucks, service vehicles, and then the yard facilities, the engine facilities. It's not a particularly large yard. It suits my purpose for filling the space that I could allocate to it. The repair shed that you see here right in front is a scratch built and services 2 lines that feed off of the turntable. As you work this way into the turntable and roundhouse, in a modern railroad, would this fit? Probably not. Would they have replaced it with something else? Quite logically. But it is one of those great railroad traditions, especially going back to the steam era. And so for that, I felt I wanted to keep it in place. The roundhouse is a Helgen kit and services both steam and diesel for me on this rail line. I can run fan specials and tourist line runs, therefore justifying steam on what would be a modern railroad. I use a lot of second generation diesels in the facility. You've seen a lot of SD 40-2s, some SD 45s, and so you're going to see a lot of those used second-hand locomotives that would run on this railroad. I've also been able to bring along a few other old locomotives that I had, including the old Alco. And again, the roundhouse kind of outdated for a modern railroad, but certainly fitting the idea of railroading. So one of the purposes of this visit with Kevin was to say goodbye to the Cache Valley in Northern. My wife and I will be relocating in the not too distant future, and that means that this layout's got to come to an end. So this is the last official visit to the CV&N, and it will start to get dismantled here very shortly. So again, it's been a long and really joyful journey to get to this place. The future is going to be T-Track. Our local club here, N-Scale of Bloomington Normal, is very active using T-Track modules, and the flexibility that it gives and the mobility that it gives will suit the new situation that we will be facing. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm starting to get excited about the possibilities and have ideas on what I'm going to be doing there as we move forward. So as I say, this will kind of be a goodbye. The mountain and all of the bridges hopefully will get involved in the next layout. I already have some plans for the city scene, and we'll probably find some plans for these bridges in the back as we move to the new location. So again, I want to thank Kevin for his participation in this. It's always been a lot of fun to share railroading, and I look forward to doing more just in a different place. So thank you, and bye-bye.
So there you have it. It's always sad to have someone have to take their layout down, but I'm very glad that I had a chance to document it and give a chance for Dave to face it, show off the wonderful work he's done on his layout. I'll be very curious to see what he does in his future layout when he and his wife move to warmer climate. So maybe I'll get a chance to showcase that a little later on. I've known Dave Gentry for close to 30 years now. He's pretty much the founding member of my group, the N Scale of Bloomington Normal. He came over, he even helped me pour the concrete down in my train room so that I have a real floor all those years ago. So it's always sad to see a friend move away. Hopefully we can keep in contact. And again, I'll look forward to see what he does in the future. That's kind of all I've got right now as far as, I suppose, quickly layout update. Excuse me, I'm still working on the yard, and that's coming along. There's no plans for any future train shows, of course, other than what we're going to try and put one together, just us, a private show sometime in January. We'll see how that works. So anyway, that's kind of it for the day. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. If you did, please hit like and subscribe. And thank you very much for watching. Catch you next time.